Stance change, stance change. Will you change my stance, or will you die?
Welcome back to another episode of Stance Change. Today I am here with formerly the coach of the Grand Rapids Growlithe. I don't know if you want to announce you've been talking about a potential name change.
Well, we've got a moving across country. Thankfully, it's not going to impact our books too much because the taxpayers funded all of our stadiums. But we're going to be going through a rebrand here shortly before the next season.
Okay, so you wanna keep that? You're not ready to announce that yet.
Well, let's just say that we're going to be covering one of the Mons that's going to be featured in it during today's podcast.
People are going to be able to speculate which one that is. That's exciting. Okay, so which one of these three Mons do you want to jump into first?
I think I'd love to start with Spite Ops,
Great.
who has, to me, he's one of these new Mons that they've come out with that I think he's got some unique playability to him. He's got a few different ways that you can run him. Lots of good hazard setting, lots of good things. But really, what made me fall in love with this guy is his signature ability and the ability to use better protect is what I'm going to call it, but Silk Trap, and actually take speed away from people who are trying to hit him.
Yeah. Now I do have to say I thought it was terrible, but now it's like. Probably this is the intention with its name. It's a very it's a special ops Pokemon. It's meant to do a very specific thing, fill a very specific niche. So I've grown to like it a little bit more. Still don't think it's great, but
he's not gonna you're not gonna build a team around him, I don't think. But I do think he adds an element of surprise and just kind of frustration in the way that you can use Silk Trap or you can use Sticky Webs. There's multiple ways to impact the speed game with this guy. And honestly, if you get in against a Mon that is slightly slower than him, he can revenge kill because he slows them down and then hits before they try to pivot out.
Yeah, I have to tell you, when I was building this set that I have here, I was looking at well, not this one. I built a different set before we started this, but I really wish that either Silk Trap was 2 stages of speed or he was base 60 or something, because offensive Pokemon that are going to attack you and trigger the Silk Trap are still going to be faster than you. Because I would have liked to see maybe... So I think he gets Leech Life or something. You throw this on there. You throw Leech Life and then Silk Trap, and then you can Silk Trap them because they're going to, and then slow them down enough that you would be able to be faster than them in attack. So they'd have to hard switch. So then you could actually get the stakeout boost.
Yeah, and now I don't think you're running this Mon thinking that it's going to survive a whole bunch of hits. I think that's the build that we've seen. I think he has some selective use cases where you're putting him in against a Psychic Mon, something that is gonna come out. If you're trying to use Stakeout, forcing hard switches, it's really gonna be situational.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just the ability to set hazards, slow things down, and set up whatever the next Mon is. Makes him have some unique capabilities here.
Yeah, especially now. I think the big thing about Spite Ops, and I think someone's going to draft Spite Ops, not even just for the novelty of a new Pokemon or anything like that, because he's one of only 3 fully evolved Pokemon who have access to Sticky Web. Mm-hmm. And with the big drop off in hazard setters this generation, I think that Sticky Web is huge. I think we're probably going to see Masquerain and Spite Ops and probably even Kricketune taken in both leagues.
Yeah, I think I agree. I've been mostly playing Ranbats, and in the previous generation, there were so many of those matches that were just straight up decided on did they get a sticky web down, and
Yeah.
now that that is at a premium, I think that is something that is worth considering. There are not a bunch of Pokemon that are available that can impact the speed game in the way this guy can.
Yeah, and then also due to the lack of hazard clearers in this generation, I think that something that has, because this also has toxic spikes. I don't have it on my screen here, but sticky web spikes and toxic spikes. Those are, the fact that it has all of those is actually super amazing, and the fact that it's harder to clear hazards. Some games will just be decided by that.
Mm-hmm.
So, much more interesting than I thought. It's very niche use. Yeah, you're right. You can't build a team about it, but it's a really interesting like utility mon.
Yeah, he's built to stop the rapid spinners from taking away his spikes.
He is and he isn't. Like he
That's true. Most of the rapid spinners are going to take him down pretty fast.
yeah, like that's the thing. Like I wish he had, because like with how bad his attack is, even if he manages to be faster than them, it's hard for him to kill them. I think the best thing about him, because let's see, what would I'd probably go. I'm gonna fix what I have here. I think this is probably a set that I would consider running on him. So sticky web spikes, silk trap. Oh, not first impression. That's not what I wanted. I wanted memento, because memento, if you end up being faster, actually I'll probably do like this. This feels really weird to run this kind of set, but so if you go max speed jolly, maximize your speed as much as possible, so that way if you do silk trap something, hopefully you can outspeed it. And then so you can block a rapid spin with silk trap because it won't work. Now you're faster. Now you can memento to block the rapid spin. I think that would be the way I'd go.
Yeah, he's definitely a sacrificial piece of your arsenal, but potentially an impactful one.
Yeah, I think so. Because honestly, if his only job is to get up sticky web, and then you just go in with like a bulky offense team and outspeed stuff, I think he'll do a good job there.
Yeah.
I guess it's time to move on to the next one. We've spent enough time talking about this spider that isn't very good.
Yes. So Belly Bolt. This mon has really grown on me. I think when I first started learning about it, I was like, he's kind of a amalgamous blob that doesn't seem that exciting other than he can eat a bunch of stuff. But then I've started actually playing with him and seeing how he works. And being able to either, alternate between electromorphosis or static, I think gives him some versatility in there. You don't necessarily know what you're going. So if you're coming at him with a physical attacker, just good luck. He has a lot of abilities there, but what really sold him on me was, so he's building up that static charge, and oftentimes when I'm using him, Muddy Water comes into play huge.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to switch in a ground Pokemon on him, and he's taking away your accuracy as well as hitting you super effective. It's really, really fun to have on your team and really frustrating to go up against.
Yeah, I like this more than I thought it would. You know what? I know people are like, "Oh, Belly Bolt's so cute." I don't think the design's very good. I'm not a fan. That might be contrary to what I said before, but yeah, I don't like the fake eyes. I don't like if those were his real eyes, they just got rid of those other two. Maybe it's just like, oh, it's so ugly, it's cute, but I don't like this design personally. And maybe that's contrary to something I said on a past podcast, but I can change my opinion.
He's got that big ball in the center that it's just asking for you to poke it, and he punishes you when you do.
So I like a lot of things about this mon. Like it's really interesting because I did a little bit of research before this. Unless I'm mistaken, someone can correct me. Outside of like Zapdos, Emolga, and Oricorio, I don't think we have ever had an electric type that has a recovery move like Slack Off. Maybe there's something that has had Wish. Like Jolteon has Wish, but let's face it, you're not using Wish Jolteon.
Well, if you are, then you're being punished for it.
Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting thing. I've seen some games where this thing's just super hard to kill because parabolic charge, especially after it takes it like an electromorphosis hit. And I think we probably got this wrong in the podcast where we talked about the new mons. I thought it was just like on an electric attack, like it was kind of like lightning rod in that way. But it's just any hit basically gives it a +1 to electric type moves. It ends up being it's not really passive. It ends up being pretty strong.
Yeah, and you don't have to invest. I think the interesting part about Belly Bolt and the reason that he's so great is you don't have to put investment into his offensive stats to make him a threat. It's literally his defense builds his offense, and that's it's something that's unique to this mon. I think he is kind of he's more versatile Chansey. He's not there to he's there to frustrate a specific type of Pokemon and make it so that they have to either burn all their PP trying to kill him or switch out into something else that he can then punish.
Yeah,
and that's
this can be really annoying to some, like a lot of special attackers can come in on flying types, steel types, probably another type that he physical electric types, which actually are a little bit more common than they used to be, and just really be an absolute nuisance. Also in its move pool is Acid Spray, which I think goes really well in this defensive set to maybe break down some Pokemon it couldn't otherwise. Because this would actually really help it win 1v1 against other bulky Pokemon.
And one thing that I've seen a lot of people using on this that I vehemently disagree with is a lot of the builds that I've seen have had Thunder Wave. And really, like, yeah, you can paralyze the other mon, but you're giving up all that offensive bonus that you've built up. So unless he's uncharged, I'm clicking Thunderbolt every single time and just hoping for the paralysis.
You know
rather
what?
than saying
Thunderbolt is pretty good. I've seen a lot of parabolic charge just in terms of like recovery. But I guess if you have with slack off and leftovers, you probably don't need that. But then if you go parabolic charge, you probably don't need leftovers. You could go heavy duty boots because you're going to be able to pivot with this thing pretty well. It's got.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I said Thunderbolt. Discharge.
Discharge also good.
If you're going for paras, Discharge.
Yeah, now that you're talking about it, I don't see a lot of situations where I'd probably want to run Thunder Wave on this Mon. I also have on here Soak. I think that's kind of an interesting option because since it's very limited on coverage moves. It basically has water and electric and acid spray, and then if you want to Terra this, which I don't really think a lot of people are going to want to use their terrestrialization on a Pokemon like this.
Yeah, I think I've only seen it Terra as flying to take away ground immunity.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, though, he just eats an earthquake, so who cares?
Yeah, and by the way,
many things that are running Earth power.
Yeah, if anybody's wondering why I didn't change the Terra type on Spite Ops, it's because you shouldn't terrestrialize your Spite Ops, I would say, in any circumstance. Maybe you could, you know what, now that I say that, maybe you could, if you're really desperate to keep up hazards, maybe you could turn it into a ghost to block a rapid spin, but back to Belly Bolt, sorry. If you just go ahead and soak something, then all of your stab moves are going to be super effective, and you've taken away their stab, so probably increases your livability. I think it's got a lot of really interesting options.
I mean, if you're going up against something that is going to come in, be bulky and slow that week, I would seriously consider bringing Soak on this Mon because. Yeah. Something U-turns off of you and you're soaking that next Pokemon coming in, good luck.
Yeah, basically, the only thing that could really mess with this set is, what's it called? Gastrodon with, Storm Drain. That means you can't soak it. You also can't Thunderbolt it or anything. And that'll probably run Earth Power, but, that's the only Pokemon off the top of my head that would really mess with you. I guess other water absorb mons, but overall, this, it's a great option for Belly Bolt.
Well, you got the perfect transition there into the water absorbed mon that we're about to talk about here.
Yeah. So here we go. Tatsugiri. We talked about Pokemon that have, like how not a lot of Pokemon have access to hazard clearing, and this is one that does and also uses it on like offensive sets.
Yeah, and I think Tatsugiri, I'm 50-50 on this mon on how I feel on it any given day. I feel like he has some great utility with the rapid spin. Obviously, water dragon typing is awesome. It is cool being able to change his colors, as you can see right now.
Yeah,
And the
I was
shiny
just deciding
forms
which
are all
one I
different.
liked most.
I usually go with orange, but that's just personal preference.
I can't see shiny on this right now. That's fine.
Actually, the colors do matter.
In doubles.
In doubles.
Yeah.
And that brings me to the thing I absolutely just cannot forgive the Pokemon Company for with this mon. This mon and what's the giant whale?
Dondozo.
This mon would have been perfect for those two should be one Pokemon, and just like we have what's his name with King's Shield and
Aegislash.
Aegislash, just like we have Aegislash, where he changes stance and he does the shield's in front of me and then the sword's out. You could have had something where that whale's opening his mouth and this guy's jumping out when he does an physical attack, but then when he does something defensive, he goes into the whale form and absorbs it. Commander would have looked so much cooler in that type of a capacity where it's a changing ability, something like that. I feel like they really missed an opportunity to. Heck, he was the false Titan right here.
I have to tell you,
they had it in the game.
That was a lame, like, final Titan to face.
It was.
That was dumb.
For
but
those
anyways,
of you who don't know, you can go back and catch the false Titan, and he has excellent for all of his.
Or fantastic.
Fantastic, that one.
Yeah, so 30 out of 31. Yeah, so go catch the false Titans. If like those are nice things to, I'd say start off breeding with, but it's not. I don't think you'd actually. That's not any better than having something that's got no best EVs.
Just save yourself the bottle caps. It's not worth that much more. Yeah.
Unless you're doing like cartridge stuff, like actual competitive stuff, then really just do speed at least.
Mm-hmm.
But Tatsugiri, honestly, it's got great special attack. We've seen this typing before on Kingdra. It gets the job done. Storm Drain gives it an immunity to water. It would have had a 4x resist anyways, but like a free way to boost your special attack. I think that's great. And it's got decent special defense too. So I think you're probably likely to try to switch it in on a special move if it's not a dragon or fairy move. I think you probably are pretty comfortable doing that.
I think, or if you're going up against someone that has a pivoting water type, like I've heard talked about on the podcast, Flip Turn. Which
that'll block that.
Sadly, he does not. If you've got a Flip Turner on the other team, you're throwing this guy in, and then you can spec him and throw one of the nastiest dragon attacks at whatever is in the game, next to him after that. Now, I think that is the ability to potentially do 2 Draco Meteors without it being the 50% less is the one thing that Tatsugiri is going to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know what this thing's Terra type would be if you ran like a spec set. Because I think it's got potential to do that. Like Hydro Pump and Draco Meteor are very strong coming off a 120 special attack. Doesn't have much in the way of coverage moves. I think that's the biggest drawback to this one, in addition to, honestly, the other two that you talked about.
I think each of these is a situational mon. Nothing that you are going to build your team around, at least expecting flexibility. I think they are situational things that you're bringing into a lineup each week.
Yeah, like I'm trying to figure out what I think Tatsugiri's best set is probably going to be the one I had on here before with heavy duty boots and rapid spin at the very least. if you want to put other filler coverage moves in there, I think you're probably going like Hydro Pump, Draco Meteor, and then Icy Wind just for like utility, or you could do the Nasty Plot set. I think that this mon this is, of the three of them, this is the most like, I think this is the most versatile. The other ones you're probably going to be running very similar spreads on, doing very similar things every week. Tatsugiri, I think, can really switch it up and be a little bit more support or more offense. I think the room for offense is there with how strong this thing is and how strong its stab moves are.
Yeah, I agree. I think that your flexibility on this mon is going to be a little bit higher. You're going to bring this to more weeks than you are the Spite Ops. I don't know. Belly Bolt's probably, if Belly Bolt's on my team, he's probably in every single game. But
yeah, I have to tell you,
that's purely doing the one thing he does.
Whoever drafts Spite Ops, so we're playing 7 games in a regular season, assuming that everything goes according to plan. If it doesn't, then sue me, I guess. But Spite Ops, if a team drafts him, I would expect him to come to 4 out of 7 games. Probably have 4 feints and just have 6 status moves or something. But not that we're keeping track of that this time. Sorry, everybody. We're just keeping track of feints, KOs, and appearances.
You'll know his efficacy by number of deaths on the season.
Yeah, it should exactly equal his number of appearances, and he should have no KOs. That's my prediction for Spite Ops' stat line.
We'll need a Spite Ops jingle like we have for the Life Orb.
Oh, boy. Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. But I think that's all unless you have any closing thoughts on any of these three you want to discuss.
No, just, one of these 3 is going to look very familiar when it gets incorporated into the new DC team. And keep an eye out for, what may be coming for the Washington Commanders.
Oh, you gave it away.
I figured they've listened to this long enough. They deserve something.
That's true. Okay, so you've got some thoughts on terastallization you want to share.
I do. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse on what everyone has talked about so far. I think I have been finding, at least my preference in how I've been using terastallization, has been a little bit different. It's been for mons like a Volcarona, like I'm blanking out, like some of the evolutions where you want to build up some of your stats, and you're using it as a way to get an immunity to buy that turn. So using it defensively, not necessarily for offense. A great example might be if you have a Mimikyu and you're down to Mimikyu against Krogunk. The natural move is going to be to do some kind of maybe a gunk shot, something from the Krogunk. And if Mimikyu is able to go and terastallize into steel, he can get that sword stance up, still have his ability to get the busted, and he can get off 2 strong, Shadow Claws or a Shadow Claw and a Shadow Sneak, depending on speed. So that's been how I've been using it. Throw that Volcarona out there, get 2 Quiver Dances up rather than just 1, and use that as a way to start sweeping.
Yeah, I think that sometimes you only need 1 free turn to set up, and I think that terastallization gives a huge ability to do that. I'm interested. So as of the time of recording, OU just finished their suspect on terastallization, and for them, they need a 60% majority to take action in a tiering decision, and they came up about 6 votes short of having restrictions on terastallization out of, I think, 340 votes or something. So a pretty close margin. So terastallization is going to remain unrestricted in OU. I don't know how people feel about it in League. It's been talked about it to death on here. I do think that it opens up so many doors. I think it's really exciting, but I also think that its applications in League can be really damaging also.
I agree, but I think that if we look at the previous generation, if we look at that mechanic of going
Dynamax.
Gigantamax or
Yeah.
Dynamax, yeah, Dynamaxing, you didn't even have to put thought into it. I click Dynamax, and whatever's in front of me is probably gonna die, or I'm gonna be able to build up my stats with that while killing stuff. And I think that
Yeah.
took a lot of fun out of the game. There wasn't really the back and forth that terrestrialization has. I think much more important to hold your terrestrialization to the right moment than, hey, I have this really strong thing. I'm going to pop my terrestrialization or my Dynamax, and there was no way to stop something.
Yeah.
If you got the um, Geomancy up and pop Dynamax, the entire other team was going to be down to two Mons by the time that Dynamax was done.
Yeah. One of the other things I like about terrestrialization versus, I'd say, probably any of the other mechanics that we've had, whether that be Mega Z Crystals or Dynamax, is I think that there are niche applications on literally every Pokemon someone could draft that's just like, okay, being able to terrestrialize in this specific situation would be beneficial. I mean, I think situations are more varied for other Pokemon, but I like the option that every Pokemon on your team could be made better by this mechanic. Granted, that's kind of true of Dynamax, but there was some Pokemon where it's just like, I have to build a very specific set for this to like be halfway decent, and the opportunity cost was kind of too high to do that a lot of the times. It's just like, just put it on Hawlucha and just win. But on this, it's just like, I had mentioned the thing about how Spidops is bad and you shouldn't terrestrialize it. Then I'm like, oh, but you could turn into a ghost and keep up your hazards. Or there's probably some weeks you could turn into a, like, never mind. I lost a good example, but it's still, I think the options are there. I like it a lot.
Yeah, you were never going to Dynamax a Meganium. You might terrestrialize one, though.
Yeah, for sure. Like, if it's like, oh man, this Meganium, who's not in the game, unfortunately.
Who's not in the game?
Yeah. I like, if you're just like, okay, this Meganium needs to, live here and get off this stun spore or leech seed or whatever. You're going to find an opportunity to be able to do that. You're going to be able to terrestrialize into whatever type you need to live the hit, and probably wall something that would normally totally beat you. And I do think that's nice, but also therein lies the problem. There is basically, on the defensive side, anything can become a check or a counter to an offensive Pokemon. And on the offensive side, it is so much harder to check, it's so much harder to create a check to that Pokemon without terrestrialization. Like in the past, what's a good example? Like, let's say, what's the Crawdaunt? There's another Pokemon. Oh, like Paldean Tauros. Paldean Tauros can beat every Crawdaunt in the known universe. There's no way without terrestrialization that Crawdaunt could take down a Paldean Tauros, unless it now can terrestrialize into what's a good example? Yeah, probably like a flying type and get like Terra flying to hit it super effectively and KO it. That's kind of a specific example, but now there's never a no thought defensive check to an offensive Pokemon, because what if they terrestrialize?
Yeah, I like the dual purpose, being able to use it to build momentum or stop momentum from going too far off the rails.
Yeah, and I do think if every Pokemon could, if all 6 of your Pokemon could do this, it would obviously be a broken mechanic. The fact that only one per battle can do it, and I mean, I don't know about you, but when I play on either in Ranbats or in OU, And it's just like, okay, thank goodness they terrestrialized. Now I know all of the variables.
Oh, exactly. I feel nervous if I am the first person terrestrializing it because it's just one of those things where what if I need it later?
Yeah, it's a real big analysis of when to use it, what's the right time to use it, and it's going to result in some very surprising KOs. Because I don't know what capacity we're going to have it in and if it's going to be restricted at all, but I have heard nobody that wants to ban it outright. So we're going to have it in some form.
I think it'll be fun to watch someone come back from a 6-1 and run it all the way back as though they're a gym leader.
That would be, yeah, but the gym leaders always terrestrialize on their last Pokemon and lose anyways.
Well, they're stupid. There's a reason they're the gym leader and not the
Yeah,
grand champion.
they
who
should
was kind of a pushover.
they should terrestrialize earlier.
I mean, I hear you, but they're still monotyping and not monotyping correctly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much all we have to cover, unless you have some closing thoughts.
No, just really excited to get the next season going, get the tiering conversation started here. I know I've filled out my preliminary numbers, and now I'm going to go back and probably redo everything that I've done.
Yeah,
but
anyone who I've sent one of those sheets to, I'm not going to ask for final sheets until, I think in the last episode we recorded, I said like the 14th. I'll probably hold myself to that. So as of the time of recording, you got 10 days. Probably by the time this comes out, it's probably more like 8 or 9 days. I've got one more of these lined up to record. If you want to get in on this, let me know, hopefully before this upcoming weekend. So what's the date on that? That's the 7th and 8th. Because after that, I probably won't have time to do it. So that's all I've got here.
And shameless plug, show up on Mondays.
Yeah. So sorry I didn't make it this week. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I'm sorry. I feel like you're yelling at me specifically, and it hurts my feelings.
No, you're there every other week.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah. Like you said, show up on Mondays. Thanks for being on. Really appreciate your input here.
Anytime.
Yeah, and thanks for listening, everybody. See you next time.